Welcome back. Today I wanted to try something a little different. Today we turn our lens to Reddit. I know, it's scary. I don't venture often into Reddit, but when I do, it's 50-50. Sometimes I see some great, inspirational, hilarious things, and others I don't. But since we've embarked on a journey of discovering the world through an ADHD lens, having been relatively recently diagnosed, connecting with other people's stories and experiences and just finding things to relate to and trying to understand, at least for myself. So I'm going to read some stories, some people's experiences, read some of the comments and discuss. If you guys enjoy this video, please hit the like button. Let me know that you enjoy it and I'll be sure to make more. First, we have this post: living with 2 ADHD roommates has opened my eyes to ADHD. I'm sorry guys, I was one of those people who thought everyone is a little bit ADHD because the symptoms seemed pretty relatable, or I thought there were plenty of advantages, multitasking, being more creative, so it would just be people operating differently. Actually living around 2 people with ADHD has shown me that no, it sucks. They spend hours scrolling online, even when they say they don't want to. They don't sleep at a consistent time, and not because of doing work. This one baffles me, because then they say how tired they are the next day. They're often searching for things and forgetting about food they've bought. Their energy levels are all over the place. Sometimes they'll have a day where they barely leave their bedrooms. Sometimes they'll have a very productive day. Usually we talk about our days over dinner, and it just stands out to me how they just do less in a day. I'm not judging them for it. It was just a surprising realization. Like they'll say, "Today I did laundry, got groceries, and went for a walk." And I used to think that they were leaving out a lot of details because it just takes 1 to 2 hours. How could that be their whole day? But no, that actually is their whole day sometimes. On the bright side, it's easy to feel useful to them. If they're scrolling on their phone and it's late, I just say, "Let's go to sleep now." And that's all it takes to cue them to put their phone away and sleep. Or if I can tell they're procrastinating on something, I just ask, "What do you need to do?" And that's literally all it takes for them to start doing it. This post kind of stood out to me for plenty of reasons that should be obvious if you understand or know someone with ADHD. One of my biggest issues when I ran into my burnout or crash out or whatever you want to call it, but when I was diagnosed and I started understanding things, I learned what task paralysis was. I learned a lot of the symptoms that I had dealt with my whole life, but didn't realize that they were symptoms of a bigger source. I don't want to say issue, source. And I spent years, decades rationalizing certain thought patterns and behaviors in order to just fit in and do what people wanted. And when I say what people wanted, I mean work, school, partners, being successful, living the American dream. But I learned the hard way, as I'm sure many of us have. These coping mechanisms that we built up to survive in the world that we exist in, they're implemented sometimes by parents, by teachers, adults, people who should know what they're doing, or at least from a kid's perspective. We take the wisdom and advice of adults before us and we implement them in our own lives, whether we consciously acknowledge it or not. But what happens when you live in a family that is riddled with mental health and potentially ADHD, and you throw in a culture of not acknowledging weakness, not acknowledging those differences in us, and trying to survive by toughing things out and being tougher, and in my case, being a man about it? And what that led to for me was it led to almost a passive existence, to the point where the mask just crumbled, you know? And going back to this post, I used to struggle so much thinking that I was not as productive as I could have been. And that came from my own internal voices, external voices, and just comparison. The natural human thing that we all do. looking around and seeing what other people can and have done and how easy it looks for them. And then looking in the mirror and analyzing our own lives and how we move, and a doubt, a force within us kind of starts to build of negative self-talk, of putting ourselves down, of comparing more and more. And whenever we try to shake that off, and we try to push ourselves and we hyper focus and we become successful and we look back and we still are not happy. And it happens. It happens. And I think that's a natural human thing. But dealing with the symptoms of ADHD, you are more emotional, you're sensitive, and you're sensitive to your experiences and other people's experiences, your surroundings, your environment, and what you put yourself through. So I personally applaud, these two ADHDers kind of understanding and allowing their roommate to kind of help them along, listen to the cues. And, I love that this person was actually able to get a firsthand look at not just the difference, but an understanding of why not everybody works the same. We don't all respond to the same stimulus. We don't all respond to the same threats in the same fashion. And I think it's really important to understand that. Here's another one. No one understands. We do. I want you, before even reading this, I want you to know that we do. I recently got diagnosed with ADHD, and my mom doesn't think I have ADHD, and that I just need more vitamins, and this really hurts. And my ex always said I should just listen, and I was really trying, but I forgot most things. Most people don't realize how much I'm trying. And many people said that I was enjoying, like when I tried to show them a reel or something. I can't do that anymore. I just want people to understand. I'm sure there are typos in here, and I'm not sure if maybe there's like a language barrier with this post, but that pain of having friends and family near you who don't really understand what you're going through, and tying it back to the previous post of not of having a preconceived idea of what ADHD is, and unfortunately the stigma that all the symptoms are, or the majority of the symptoms are pretty normal, you know? Most people have them. And while I can agree that human beings all experience similar emotions and struggles, the symptoms that come with ADHD is it's chemical and it's just who we are. And we can't expect, unfortunately, the world has shown us that we can't expect people to fully understand. But what I would say to this person is to know that you're not alone, that you're not crazy. You are feeling what you're feeling. And sometimes it's hard to get other people to understand. It just is. I saw a post recently of this gentleman who was saying that when the universe picks you to wear those magical glasses, that there's rules with it. And one of the rules is that once you put them on, you can't take them off. Once you see things the way they are, you can't really unsee them. And the other rule was you can't force anybody else to put them on. You're going to see things differently than other people. And that's fine, but you could never really force them to do it. If they're meant to see it that way, or if they have the capacity, then they will in their own time. And so I just hope for the best of you. Hang in there. If you can, get the help wherever you can. Friends, find a community, find like-minded people. And don't forget that, yeah, you're not alone at all, at all. I feel you. I really do. And I go through this conversation every time I see my family. Unfortunately, it's to the point where it's not even acknowledged anymore. I bring it up and they refuse to see it. Really, really, you know? And it's fine. I understand. My health and my well-being is not dependent on their understanding. Would it help? 100%. But they're not the ones that are going to make me build myself back up. They're going to support me in whatever way they can. And don't get me wrong, they're not supportive. And so we move forward, you know? We take what we can from the people we have, we give what we can to the people that we care about, and we push forward, you know? And you always got to take care of yourself first before you take care of anyone else. And that's partly why I feel so strongly about my family personally. Not only accepting it, but looking into it and caring to learn more about it because I'm the first person in my family that is diagnosed, you know? And we know that it's genetic in a sense, if that's the right word, but there's so many behaviors, you know? And to this poster, I guess I would ask you to observe your family for yourself, you know? Confirm for yourself. And I wish the best for you. Here's an interesting one. Everyone talks about ADHD as being too much. So I want to name the other side. Not enough. Interesting. Too much, quote unquote, is the line many of us hear. Too loud, too talkative, too emotional, too energetic, too intense. But a lot of people with inattentive traits recognize the quieter chorus even more. Not enough. You don't care enough. You need to be more organized. You aren't clean enough. You don't respond enough. You're not a very attentive friend. You aren't driven enough. You're sloppy. You need to pay more attention. Your symptoms aren't severe enough. You should be more involved. You spend too much time in your own world. You don't talk enough. You need to try harder. You aren't disciplined enough. The list is long. The verdict is the same. Not good enough. So this is for the people whose ADHD goes unseen or unacknowledged. For those who look quiet or even normal next to the stereotype. I see you. I am you. You are enough by yourself. Too often, this really is the case. And I do believe that I am also one of these. If you would have known me before I was 30, you would have seen me as a positive, happy, outgoing guy. A little introverted, but in my element, I was, don't want to say the center of attention, but I was comfortable, In my element, around my people, I was fun. I still am. I think so. And my wife, I met her at, one of my old jobs, and she saw me as that. I was a supervisor. I was this person that people would trust and come and talk to. I was confident in my work and in the things that I said and believed. I was passionate, but, that was a place where I had already worked at for years, That was my place. I was attached to it to an extent. But really, and I didn't realize this back then, but I would go home and I would be so drained socially. I would ignore calls and text messages because I just felt this anxiety building up of, oh, you have to keep track of anything and everyone people want and need from you, and you need to maintain this mask, And I wasn't so conscious of it, but my sense of self was that mask. And I remember getting promoted to like a manager position, and I felt such like an imposter. Yes, I knew how to talk to people. Yes, I knew how to manage a situation under high stress. But all of that was already taking a huge toll on me, and I hadn't even realized, and, I wasn't medicated. I wasn't seeing a therapist. I was just pushing through. And so when I finally hit this wall, making the most money I ever made and having a really good job and owning a home and starting to try to live that American dream as hard as it already was. It didn't feel like a dream at the time either, but I had things going for me and my family. And then I couldn't, and I didn't know why. And I felt so much like a failure to my family, to my coworkers, to my workplace, to my family. And it was just really hard to be so helpless when I had already felt helpless. Even though things were going well, things were tight. The economy was not doing well. This was right after COVID. Like, we were still struggling, but there was upward momentum. And when it all came crashing down and what's it seemed like all I had left were the pieces to pick up, and I was still crumbling, and I still haven't built myself back up to where I was. But I'll be honest, I don't think I ever will. And this new me, while it has its cracks and scars, it is tougher. I am a better, stronger person for understanding myself more and being more forgiving with myself. As hard as that's been, with all the guilt that comes with it, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And yes, I still unfortunately struggle to reach out to people who care about me and want to help because I don't know what to say. I don't know what, I don't know how to help myself. I don't know. But what I do know is I'm here. I'm still kicking. I'm still fighting. People still care about me and they're still driving me and checking in on me. And I'm so grateful. And I wish I could repay that back a million times over. But all I could do is focus on getting better, building myself back up. And what that's looked like, honestly, guys, is this channel. It's what I've been able to put my energy to, and I've been so grateful with the response. And I'll just remind this poster and anyone else who feels unseen that we're all here. We all are on this earth together. We may not see or speak to each other, but we're here. We have been, we will be. And I do find hope in the idea that when I look around to the people who are successful in an ethical way, they're one of us too. You'd be surprised how many of them. If you're like me and you're on YouTube, my God, the amount of creators that I have fallen in love with and have really found inspiration from all have ADHD or, are on the spectrum or have some form of neurodivergence that really just goes to show you that there is no normal. There's absolutely nothing normal about this world. I could tell you that. And so just live your life, man. Ain't no rules. Just respect other people. There's no blueprint for life. There's what people have done. There's what people have tried. And then there's what people doubt. And what people tell you is impossible. All of it is valid. You're the one who decides. We're the one who decides. And yes, we are restricted by our environments and the world that we live in, but they can't control our perspective. They can try, but we have ultimate say in that. And so, guys, if you take anything from this, please, please, please hang on to your perspective. Be open to expanding it, but know that you're special and no one else in the world thinks like you do. And it's our duty to let people know that we're here. We are just as normal as anyone else. Thank you guys for clicking on the video. I appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed my rant, Please hit the like button and subscribe if you want to hear more of me rambling. Also, I do a lot of music reactions. More Ren, more Warning coming this week. Took a bit of a break last week. There's just a lot going on. Things I'm trying to figure out for the future. And I appreciate you all for all your support. Calamity, thank you for checking in on me. I appreciate it. Love you guys. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. Peace. If you guys would like to support the channel, you can check out the link here to buy me a coffee if you want.